hello, hello. I slowly fade out the music so it's not, oh, nope, that was the wrong place to set that. There we go, music's faded out. Okay, now I can switch to this camera. Hello everyone, hello stream. This is an exciting day because I am going to be giving you guys a preview of the next patch. I would like to welcome everyone that is joining me today. I am by myself. My name is Jordan, by the way. I'm the design director on Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed. I am by myself today because the entire Marcom side of the company, we're getting together for like a retreat summit thing. So I am jumping on so that I can get this to you guys so you know what's coming up in this patch. Check out all the cool things we have in store. So this stream will be a little bit more casual and focused in on just kind of informationally giving you as much as we possibly can right now so you can get super excited for everything that we have in store. Let's see, I guess my first thing that I can do is kind of give a high level of the goals of this patch. We've been out for about a month at this point. What's the date today? Oh wow, it has been 1 month at this point. Nice. Timed that perfectly, I guess. It's been awesome being able to see the game out and live for everyone that's been playing it, enjoying it, finding new ways to play it. It's always exciting seeing people watch some of the, even just some of the possessables and what they can do. It's just been a really enjoyable experience watching people consume and play our game. And that's, you know, part of what we wanted to do right out of the gate is really focus in on improving the experience as much as possible. Address a lot of any of the issues, the stability issues, anything that was popping up, trying to streamline matchmaking processes and crossplay, and that's why this next update currently is a quality of life update, or patch that we're going to be putting out, and it's going to include some pretty awesome stuff. So I'm going to get into the firehouse here because I'm going to kind of jump around a few things that we have in store and highlight some of the main things that we are going to be releasing with this. So in the meantime, let me just make sure I'm inside the firehouse here. Sorry, I'm reading the chat a little bit. Okay, I'm in the firehouse. I'm gonna switch over there because it's probably more interesting to watch the firehouse than... Okay, did that work? I think we're good. Okay, so quality of life update. I'm gonna kind of jump through, just on going through the, let's see here. Sorry, once again, this is not something I do more often, very much. It is more so down to the community team, so bear with me for just a little bit. Let's see. Okay, so big patch note stuff. I think one of the biggest things for the quality of life is going to be the addition of bindings. So now when you go to the settings menu, you're gonna have access to we separated out controls and input now, so input's gonna exist kind of in the same way it did before. I believe that was called controls to begin with, but now the controls menu is going to bring up this beautiful interface that we've been working on. That was obvious, a very big part of initial feedback, something that we had in the works and wanted to make sure we got into a really good place. So it seemed like a really great thing to have for a quality of life update. This is going to allow people to rebind across keyboard and controller for both Ghost and Ghostbuster. We have just some light presets right now, just the southpaw, but for the most part, you're going to be able to do whatever you want here. And this will give you the opportunity to go through and kind of set up for your play style, so that you're able to use the buttons that you want to use on your controller, keyboard, anything, so that, yeah, it's going to give you a very wide range of customization for your input. And yes, we did get the push to talk in for controller now. That's, yeah, there it is right there. Put that on the D-pad. So Yeah, this is obviously a really big one. Quality, like it is the definition of adding a good quality of life update for just being able to make sure it's playing the way you want it to play with the binding. So that's a cool addition. It's a big one for this. We also added, let's see, I'm gonna go over the main features first before I get into some of the other patch notes. We added name tags. So I get over to customization. So now you'll be able to go inside your outfits, and there is now a name tag section that you're going to be able to, one, choose the default, which is going to be whatever your gamer tag is. And then from here, you're going to be able to unlock a whole bunch more of these. So many. There's a lot of different ones. These are all level based, so these ones that you're seeing here is, sorry, I think OBS is yelling at me that there's coding overload. Sorry if that's affecting the stream quality at all, but I'll keep it on the screen for now. So yeah, you have a bunch of options that we're launching with on here. You can see the ones right here that will be visible and locked based on level. But then what's going to happen is that there's also some that are mixed in with some of the contracts that you can unlock, as well as some available on the spores and molds now as a final reward for that. So name tags. That's one that we got a lot of requests for, and you know it is something that was like, okay, yeah, this is gonna work. One moment, let me just check my settings here because OBS doesn't seem to be having a very fun time right now. So from here, a few people, eagle-eyed people, have probably noticed that there is something different about my profile or my player card, as well as seeing something that I had equipped, and that was all part of the introduction of the Tenure System. This Tenure System is familiar to people that are familiar with anything around prestiging. And this is an initial implementation where we have one level available. So what you're going to do is once you have reached level 100, you're going to be able to go up here, and there's going to be a little menu here, and you're going to be able to activate Tenure. And this will unlock a special cosmetic. There's obviously only one right now, but this is something that we are going to be using to add in the future. So instead of just increasing level caps, we're going to be focusing on this as a way to drive special cosmetic unlocks and make sure that the people that are putting in time and really love this are getting rewarded with something that's equally cool. So you saw a brief glimpse at the first reward, and now it's going to be, you know, it's going to be a fun thing to look forward to in the future. So anyone that is currently at level 100, you'll be able to go and activate it, and you'll have access. It does, so to give the specifics around it, let me just switch back to this right now because OBS is having a time trying to do both of these at the same time for some reason. So what Tenure does is you will activate it. It's a very long commitment hold, so when you actually activate it, it's going to reset all your gameplay elements. Your cosmetics are all going to stay, and the actual gameplay elements, which is like gear. So your gear's all going to reset, your ghost levels are all going to reset, your player level reset, but then at the same time, you also receive an icon on your player card so that everyone that's in, when they're seeing you in your firehouse or in the match, it's going to show up so that you have a special little badge to show that you advanced your tenure. Sorry, let's see if this is... I apologize if the stream is dropping frames at all. This is, I'd rather try and push through this a little bit before I start messing with too many settings. So yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else included in Tenure, but basically it's going to give people an opportunity to go in and really show off if they're the ones that are really playing these extended. Let's see if I can just pop this out. once again, apologies. This is not usually my thing to be doing. I'm obviously rather ill-prepared at the same time. Let's see if the chat actually appears. Oh, okay. Well, that's obviously why it's doing what it's doing. I didn't notice the resolution that I'm streaming at. Great. Okay, so let's keep moving on. So I think that is the so for this quality of life patch, the name tags, the keyboard and controller remapping, and the tenure are kind of the major chunk of things that's going in around this. Let's see if there's any other notes around tenure that I missed. I think that should be good. Just post it if there's any questions that I missed. And so that was the other thing. Research contracts and contracts. So those also will reset. And then to kind of go along with that, so a big part of this update was trying to narrow in and fix a lot of crashes, improve stability and performance in a lot of different avenues. As well as looking into and fixing any contract-related issues, trophy-related issues, things that were causing issues in those realms. So there's a lot of improvements around that. As I skim through the patch notes, there's been some lighting improvements across the maps, improved some of the functionality of the research contract menu. There's been a few bugs like just across the board with things getting stuck on that we've cleaned up in a lot of ways. We added a team preference button that exists in between matches. So when you're in quick play and cycling, you will have the opportunity to adjust your team preference in between rounds so that you're not having to always go back to the firehouse if you'd want to switch or update your preference mid-matchmaking. That was definitely a helpful one for allowing that. So the contracts, to go off of someone's question here, so the rewards of cosmetic items from contracts will remain in your inventory. So if you've gone through and unlocked a cosmetic item, but since the research contract stuff is available through gameplay, then that's going to be resetting with the tenure. Okay, so let's see here. I'm just kind of picking through some of the notes. There's just a lot of improvements around UI and fixing up subtitles. Let's see. I'm trying to remember what some of the bigger bugs were. Let's see. Yeah, so a lot of fixes around the different, some of the major trophies and contracts and challenge stuff. So that's a lot of the stability improvements. So now we're going to kind of move into balance stuff, because that was obviously a big part of the gameplay observation that we were doing as we began to see the game in live. There's obviously, many different people that play this game in a lot of different ways, and asymmetrical games are always fun to balance because there's just so many unique combinations of things that can happen. There's a lot of perceptions on whether or not something's overpowered or someone is. So we always have to take those into account, but it really comes down to a lot of the data that we're seeing, and it was pretty obvious that the Ghost was, in most cases, pretty underpowered. There are some ghosts specifically, and there's methods that can be used that were able to be very effectively used. So a lot of the updates were geared around trying to avoid really kind of giving the ghost more of an advantage, but without making the ghost more powerful, if that makes sense. And kind of what I'm going to go over here is going to explain this. So one of the biggest things we identified was the PKE blast stun. It was a very, very powerful thing, and there was just once people were able to understand and use it correctly, it became something that made, regardless of the ghost skill, very easy to stun lock continually in very long increments that would make it very difficult in a lot of situations. So what we did was we did nerf the PKE blast. It's still effective, but the duration is reduced. So this is also, just a note, kind of our first pass at it to monitor from here, because I feel like there's more we can do and kind of monitor around this, but it's important that we kind of go at little increments, because what can happen in asymmetrical games, especially as the pendulum swing is aggressive and strong. So that's where like chain stunning is going. Like there's some nerfs here that make the chain stunning less annoying and less effective, but it's still like we still wanted to give players the opportunity to do that, because it is part of it, like being able to kind of time those out. There are some disadvantages of that too, because now it's, if everyone is grouping up to use their PKE, there's going to be a very long period of time that they're not going to have PKE access after that, and it's not going to be as effective as before, because you're not going to get the amount of time possible. I sped up the or increased the speed the ghost was allowed to go when they were stunned, to give them a little bit more say in kind of where they position themselves. So there's a little bit more that the ghost can do to try and avoid the trap deployment that's coming in. It's not a huge increase, but it's enough to be a little bit more agile when you are like, you're still penalized obviously, but the second you are stunned, you're going to have a little bit of an easier time kind of repositioning yourself in the right spot, so that you can either flee or fight back. So that's going to be big. I think the stun duration adjustments, it takes just a little bit longer for the actual charge up, so you got to be well timed with that. And then the blast charge duration, I think we need to rewrite some of the stuff as I'm looking at the draft for the patch notes, which, by the way, we will be posting these in full once we get closer to the actual release of the patch, so that everyone can look through and go after that. Let's see here. Let's see, some of this is bug related. Fixed up some issues where the particle thrower was unable to get activated in some certain combinations, especially with the RTV kit on the trap. Increased the radar puck detection distance. Felt it was a little underpowered and not giving enough of a reason to use, so we increased that. Switches. I also added a little bit more, so the Ecto goggles now have a battery associated with them. They were pretty overpowered, so we brought a battery into play, and then we also decreased the visibility while those goggles are on, so that it was a little bit more costly to use for the player and requires a little bit more thought. There's been a few tweaks to stamina consumption for busters. There was I fixed something to do with screen effects not always lasting and existing properly around status effects, which is technically kind of giving the ghost a slight extra advantage. It's not insane, but it's going to give, especially like Basher. I think since Ghouli's a little bit more geared towards giving some fear, there's a lot more that's going to exist on screen, and you will have to deal with. And then in general, like, we did make some improvements around the AI busters. That's going to be an ongoing process, though, honestly. Like, we wanted to make sure that there's, like, we're making them as valuable as possible, as valuable as we can get the bots to be able to help you capture, especially when it comes to playing player ghosts. Let's see here. Okay, so a big few updates on the ghost side. So the tether and trap QTE mini games, for getting out of those, had a little bit of an update. We added some randomization on which buttons are coming into play each time that those are happening, so that there's a little bit more of a dynamic jump into once you're initially in there. So instead of just getting sucked into the same jump to this button, we're giving a tiny bit more time on both of those, but adding an element of decision making that will, it feels a lot better just because it gives you that opportunity to, it's not just a back and forth like, oh, this to this, this to this. It gives that chance and a little bit extra time for the player to make that decision, and then fight their way out. We also added, so a big thing that will help around tether and PKE stun canceling. All abilities can be interrupted, and that was a big deal with a lot of these abilities actually providing any real use in scenarios, especially with multiple busters that could get a tether down. So we added cooldown refunds to the ghost, so that if you are tethered or you get an ability cancel, you're getting back a much less of a cooldown for that ability, so that you're able to re-engage. You can escape, re-engage, and get another chance at using that. In addition to that, the minions abilities, there were some issues with how effective I just like spit all over my mic. Man, I can't even do anything right now. There were some issues with how effective the spawning was happening with the minions, so that they were, the tether cancel was kind of playing in with that, which is why I'm kind of talking about it, is that you would go to spawn the minions, and sometimes it wasn't quite always spawning them right when they should have been. There was some delays that were happening that we tracked down, and what that allowed us to do was really dig in to specify exactly how soon. So now it's very responsive. It spawns varied per ghost, so like some ghosts are a lot quicker at spawning minions than others. So that plays into your choice now of making sure that it's like, I mean, it worked before kind of in that way, but it just wasn't being as responsible for spawning them properly as it should have been. So now minions are a lot more viable. In addition to them getting a little bit of buff, minions are a little bit more dangerous. They will attack you, and they will get you as well as the civs. They will attack civs more effectively, and they are now a much more viable solution to deal with encounters, because a lot of the times the swarm minions are really effective as like a little bit of a smoke screen. You drop them down. They work as an aggressive tactic as well as a retreat tactic, right? And that wasn't there enough for ghosts. So that's going to be a big improvement for them, and it's going to let them. It's going to give a little bit more of an opportunity, especially when people are getting the hang of dropping the trap to suck all the minions in. It's important that we make sure that the ability is scaling with how much damage those guys are doing, so that they can be effective but still have that nice counter for the busters. Okay. Let's see here. Those were some of the bigger ones. Added some cleanup so that you get more messaging around rift detonation compared to rifts getting destroyed. They were just getting called out as destroyed straight up, which is tough for concept or context in some scenarios. I also increased the amount. It's very obvious. So rifts in general, I can talk about those because this is going to be something that's going to help the ghost out. A few changes went in around the rifts that made it so I had already put in some changes in the previous update that constricted the range of the rift signals and artifacts based on the location haunt. So it starts off very small at the beginning of the match and then will gradually grow. And I've definitely noticed a big improvement there, but I wanted to take it one step further and focus in on the rifts, giving the ghosts more of a chance with the rifts. Like, they became very quickly discoverable and people were able to eliminate them before the ghost could even have a chance. So I did increase the rift health and then focused a little bit more of that into making the fracture damage more aggressive. So there's more of a leaning in on some accuracy and some skill level, a little bit of a skill shot around the rifts, so that if you are facing it, you still do have a chance solo, but it's going to be a little more difficult because I really want the ghost to have a chance at least trying to get it from the busters. Like, they're not always going to succeed, and that's not the point. Like, we want them to be able to engage, and I was noticing a lot of the times, like, the rift would just be found, caught, broken, and then attacked extremely quickly without even giving a chance that the ghost could even get over there at any point. So that's going to, I feel, have a big impact, and I'm excited to watch the effects of what that's going to look like. And then, yeah, someone mentioned it. Like, we are looking into more ways. The spawns are random for the artifacts, but there needs, like, we feel like there's more we can do around the logic to help differentiate the ways that those spawns are being conveyed. Because it's not as, there are more locations, but there needs to be more ways that we can differentiate and drive those to be a little bit more diverse in the way they're coming through. So that's a future thing. I'm not talking about this for this patch, but we are aware of that, and it's something that we definitely want to address. But it will take a little bit more time to get right. Let's see. Oh yeah, big one for ghost playability. We added so when you're going up to haunt or sabotage, we now update the text on the interaction to let you know if you're out of energy or don't have enough energy to complete it. That was a big thing that was a little bit frustrating, is going up and you had the prompt and it wasn't really letting you know, like, unless you were looking down at your bar. So, and that usually isn't a time that you want to be doing that because you're panicking and trying to sabotage the buster. So we got that updated. That should be a lot more helpful in kind of letting you gauge if you have the opportunity to get that, to drop that sabotage. Had a few bugs where the ghost wasn't dropping the trap all the time. If they picked up the trap and got tethered, they weren't always dropping it. Sorry, I missed this when I was talking about the rifts. I did increase the health regeneration on those, as well as increased, I don't think I mentioned this, I increased the amount of room haunt that's added. And so each time that you detonate a rift, like like I was saying earlier, it's obvious that these are very valuable, and we want to make sure that, like, if you're sacrificing it, like, it's doing a good chunk of work for you, whereas, you know, it's worth an entire respawn or remanifest. Now to go into some of the more specific ghost balance changes, I'm just going to kind of rattle some of these off here. Reduce the amount of slime that's added to the busters when phasing through them as the ghost. Reduce the ghost maximum PKE signal radius, so they are not quite as detectable. It's not a huge change. It's a little bit, but it makes a big difference in the long run, because the PKE signal of the ghost does contract and expand with their energy levels. So that change will kind of cascade, and it's just in an effort to try and help out. Like I was saying, it's about helping out the ghosts that aren't extremely skilled at the ghost yet. Like, it's a steeper learning curve, and we want to be able to give people an opportunity to still play fairly, but then give the higher tier players, not give the higher tier players more powerful things to then go crazy. So that's why some of these changes are being made, is because it's made specifically around that, you know, cater to the lower end in some respects, and then knock back some of the more exploitable tactics that aren't always great for busters to deal with. Some of the animations around the ghosts weren't always lining up with the stun. I know we reduced the stun in general, so we took that as an opportunity to adjust and fix the animations lining up. Talked about the minion stuff. Ectovision got a little bit of an update. We separated out the busters and civilians. They still look the same, but we separated out how the distance calculations work. So it allows you to see the civilians from farther away in Ectovision, and then the busters are closer, but as their fear grows, then they will become more and more visible farther away. So that using, you know, getting them horrified and them becoming horrified in the different rooms and not sticking together makes them much more visible to the ghost in Ectovision. There's a couple changes. Made some slight nerfs around some of the Toxie Shock Pillar ability. Did some cooldown increases around some of the quicker abilities. There were some that were a little bit too fast recharging, so that was something we needed to address. I fixed up a lot of stuff around Shriek's Scream Wave ability and updated the Floating Seeker ability to be a little bit more viable, in the sense that I reduced the cooldown so that you can spawn these guys a little bit better. And then, but they are a little bit weaker, so with a smaller explosion radius, so you can focus in on kind of summoning this little, a bunch of these little helper Floating Seeker orbs. Let's see here, what else is notable here? Gave Fear Inferno a slight buff on the Ghoulie, as well as allowed some of the Possess Human abilities a little bit longer to run around with. Felt like that one was draining a little bit too quick. Other than that, yeah, and then I said like the minions are definitely got a big buff. So I think that's a majority. I know that there's a few other things that aren't on this list yet that we had like added right at the very end and fixed up. But it's one of those things where overall there's the significance of some of these bigger, larger updates. I see people talking about specifically some of the specific ghosts. We're being careful with this, and I'm going to be watching carefully so that when this patch releases, I'm going to have enough time to watch and observe the biggest updates, and then begin to look at all the ghosts individually again with the updates I have on some of the other ghosts, and start to make changes that begin to level a lot of that stuff out, because I think there are some ghosts, but it once again, there's some big changes that have happened to just all of them, and I want to make sure that we are being careful about doing too many changes in that direction, so that we're not just immediately shifting everything in one direction. That fun pendulum swing is a very real thing. So we're being cautious with that, but I'm feeling pretty confident that these updates are going to make a pretty big difference in what we're seeing. But overall, like, yeah, it's been playing well, and I think just in general, this patch is big, not only for the big quality of life elements that we've been adding, but just in general, there's a lot of extra polish that's gone in. We just made a lot of updates to little things to increase visual feedback, make sure that you're understanding a lot of the stuff, and gameplay is just better. Like that's our whole goal, is to constantly improve and adjust and get feedback from the community. And yes, I'd mentioned it earlier. We've been working on this patch has a bunch of fixes and updates for the research contracts and contracts unlocking, as well as the trophy stuff. Let's see. And then as far as like, future stuff, like right now I can say there's going to be free DLC in the future, new maps, new ghosts. Like there's a lot of other stuff coming, and a lot of it. And then, yeah, Mike, like, yeah, we are working on the Buster equipment stat UI changes so that stuff in general is a lot more readable, not only from the menu standpoint, but actually usability wise. So it's we're early on this thing, and I'm excited to get this stuff out here, obviously, but looking forward even more so to the future of what else is going to be. It's going to be fun. Yeah, I mean, let's see here. I'm just poking through the chat, seeing if there's anything anyone has questions on. I know there's always a lot of awesome suggestions for new types of content. We don't ignore that. So always, like, through the Discord, like, make the stuff known that you feel like would be beneficial. Game development takes time, so even if we're looking on the different stuff that we're putting out, like we want to make sure it's done right, and we get to the point where things are in a very nice place. Yes, I nerfed. Let's see. Let me double check the Toxie's shock pillar. I think I just reduced how quickly it wasn't massive. So it doesn't go as far and it's not as fast. So the pulses, it's not a huge difference. I'd have to pull up the numbers. But yeah, having the pulses come out just a little bit slower, just giving the busters a little bit more time to be able to dodge them. But most of the time, if you're using that thing in the right scenarios, it's not going to make a big difference. It's just more so to avoid the exploitation of like just completely dominating spaces. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's been fun watching the competitive league stuff. It's been awesome. So hopefully we can continue to make things better and more solid around that, because those team games are pretty interesting to watch. Anytime people get hardcore into these kind of things, it's really entertaining. Yeah, I'll keep an eye on it. Mr. Clockwork. I see what you're saying, and I'm gonna monitor it, and I'm definitely like I've seen it used. Like I tried to combat it for a certain use case, so we'll see what happens. But I'm not gonna just throw it out there and then not keep an eye to make sure that it's not a completely weaker ability at this point. I think it's not as aggressive as and maybe it is. Yeah, I played with it enough that it's like, okay, this is still effective in these certain scenarios, but it's just we want to be careful with how some other scenarios that it can be used not in great ways. Yeah, a lot of great suggestions. Like I said, it's great to see all these. I'm going through. Eating ghost located. I think I think there can be more that we do around focusing in on helping ghosts understand and manage the moving of rifts process, because I know it's a big part of playing as an effective ghost. But yeah, I think there's more thought that needs to be gone into that to make sure that it's, not giving them too much of an advantage, but still helping. Like I think a big part of it, like the current updates that we're making for the rifts to allow it so that it's more so not that they're able to like get it in the artifact, but it's revealed at this point. It'll give them more time to go and get it and hopefully learn that re-hiding is possible. Yes, we found that there was a certain object in a certain location that was causing that, Mike, for the uncatchable ghost. I'm pretty sure we got all of them because it wasn't very many there, but there was like one or two that was doing it. So we found that and fixed it up. Yeah, yeah. Someone knows the blue buckets. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't have a whole lot else. There's a lot of stuff for that. I mean, this is a quality of life patch, so there's definitely a good chunk of stuff that made it in for this. But like I said, we're going to be having a lot more in the future, including new maps and new ghosts, amongst other things. So that is going to be good. I'm excited. I'm excited for you guys to get your hands on this, and then that way we can get more feedback, make more adjustments, and continue to nurture this game, because this thing has been a lot of fun. I didn't ask to see if I was able to say when this is coming out. It's soon. Pat, soon. It's soon because I'm doing this stream talking about it, so it's very soon. That's about all I feel like I'm comfortable saying right now without getting messaged. Okay, cool. Well, I appreciate everyone joining, watching, listening to my ramblings, and hopefully I was able to convey as much information as possible. But like I said, we will be posting all these patch notes soon as well, with the patch itself, so that you can get a little bit more detailed. Trying to think what else I could talk about. I don't think. Yeah, I think I'm good. I'm just gonna. Let's see here. I'm just checking everything because, like I said, I don't do this very often, and I want to make sure that I get everything done. Sadly, we didn't have any giveaways this week because I'm the only one here. Otherwise, everyone, thank you so much for joining me. I am Jordan, signing off. Hope you guys enjoy busting some ghosts this weekend. And look forward to many, many more streams, updates, etc. This has been fun. So thank you, everybody. Talk to you later.